Hello, everyone. I'm really, really excited you're here today on Vegetarians and Meat Lovers podcast. And I'm getting a text right in the middle of the beginning. How lovely. Welcome to my podcast where we talk about all things related to food and cooking, vegetarians and meat lovers, because I am a vegetarian in a meat eating family. So I have to cook meals that fit both types of food. And today, my guest is Mary Audet-White. Now, did I say your name right?
Exactly. Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm so excited to talk with her. She is amazing. She's really amazing. With a 40-year focus on the importance of family and a passion for Southern comfort food, Mary Audet-White is an expert in melding the two together effortlessly. Mary is a New York Times bestselling author with 10 cookbooks under her belt, and her recipes have been featured in Good Housekeeping, Country Living, Today, House Beautiful, Texas Living, Food and Wine, and many more. Her website is therestlesschipotle.com. On Facebook, she is also Restless Chipotle. And you can sign up for her email list, which I'll put all these links down in the podcast show notes so everybody can find them as well. But that's at restlesschipotle.com/ subscribed backslash. And we're going to have in the podcast show notes also a crockpot smothered chicken recipe that Mary has shared with us. Thank you for sharing that and welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here.
You have quite the career. Now, tell me how you got started in all of this cuz I mean that's a quite a feat to have 10 cookbooks. That is just awesome.
Okay. Well, several of those were ghostwritten for companies, so my name's not on them, but I still take credit for them because I wrote them. Um,
Mhm.
they were just somebody asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said sure, and I didn't know any better that it was hard work, and I thought, sure, I can write a cookbook. Why not? And so that's what I did. One that you can find on Amazon is a Mexican slow cooker cookbook, and
Mm.
that one is under my name. And then I did a cookies and brownies cookbook like a century ago, and that one is also under my name. And then there's a few more, but I can't remember what they are right now.
Oh, I have it written down. Bread Boot Camp and Effortless Summer Entertaining for the Rest of Us, right? Does that
Yep.
sound right?
Yep.
Very awesome. So people can put your name in Amazon and find those books. And I'll put as many of the links down in the podcast show notes that I can so people could just get right through to those. But yeah, they are a lot of work, aren't they?
They are. I really had only been blogging for a couple of, well, it was a couple of years, but it was more hobby blogging at that point. That was in like 2005. And
Okay.
um a um what are they called? Those people, an agent.
Publisher? Oh,
An
agent. Yeah,
agent,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
an agent came to me and said, "Hey, would you like to write a cookbook about cookies? I like your recipes." I said, "Sure,
Mm.
why not? That would be fun." Yeah,
Yes.
sure. So that was the first one, and that was an experience. And then I did several more after that. So
That's awesome. And so how long have you been running your blog?
um, under its current name in since 2009. Prior to, but I
Awesome.
started in about 2005.
Okay.
So I've been around like a long time.
You've seen a lot of changes across the internet and
Yeah,
social media and all of
all
that because it's
all of it.
changing so rapidly, right?
It is, but it's always changed rapidly, I think.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
used to just post recipes without pictures, and we did
Oh,
not have social media so we would just go to each other's blogs and share. We didn't make money. It was just kind of what we did.
sure. Right. That's amazing. And what got you into it? Like what was your thought process? Like, hey, I want to share or just wanted to present things to the world? What was your thought process?
My two oldest kids were adults, and they had moved away from home. My daughter had moved out of state with her family, and my oldest son had joined the military, and he was in Japan. And they were constantly emailing me and stuff, "Mom, how do you make blah blah blah?" And so I said, "You know what,
Oh,
I'm just going to start a blog. I'll put all the recipes on there, you guys can follow them, and that way I'm not getting all of these texts and emails." And not that I mind talking to them, but it was like, so yeah.
That's really cool. So it basically started as a family communication and it's turned into
Yep.
this. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
It is, I feel very blessed. Currently, we're getting over 1 million page views a month, so,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That
I
is
can't believe it.
fantastic.
It's really hard to wrap your mind around sometimes.
It really is. So like is the podcast or the not podcast, the website you have now, did you move things from your old podcast or did you start fresh with the new Chipotle, Restless Chipotle one? Or did you pull
Some
it
of
from
them
your old one?
Some of 'em I pulled from the old site, and
Mm.
s and then some of them over the years, it's been like, "Oh, I'm not keeping that on site." Because your lifestyle changes, right? When I first started
Mhm.
blogging, I had small kids, I was
Yep.
homeschooling, we had goats and chickens and I did a vegetable
Uh-huh.
garden, and I was like, "Everything has to be organic, and you should use goat's milk," and, all of the things, and now I'm
Mhm.
like, so you open up a can of cream of chicken soup, you know,
Yeah.
so some of the things that were just too, too snobby about certain kinds of foods, I had to get rid
Mm.
of so that nobody would be laughing at me about it.
I totally get that. And also, I think what changes through time with being a parent is what your children eat. Because you talked to me, 10, 15 years ago, there was nobody eating salad in my house. And now they want salad, right? Like what they eat changes. And I feel like that also impacts what I'm making because now they eat so many different things that I have so much more freedom when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
At least my children
Well,
started out picky and got less picky as age went
and that
along.
happens. A lot of
Mhm.
mine was, when I first started, I have 8 kids. I had 6,
Right.
and so my youngest is gonna turn 20 on Saturday, and
Oh,
so
yes.
how I cooked for 8 kids and how I cook,
Mm.
with I've still got 4 kids at home, but, how I cook for 6 adults at home is very
Yes.
different.
Oh, totally. I'm going through that too because my 3 boys are all 3 teenagers, and yeah, it's like basically we're feeding 5 adults. I have 3 boys and then my husband. So, yeah, feeding 5 adults is a lot different than feeding children.
If you have 3 boys that are teenagers, you're feeding more than 5 adults. They count for
You're
2.
right. That's very true. I'll go to the store and I'll buy all this food and I'll be like, "This is gonna last a really long time," and it just doesn't.
No, my, youngest son is a personal trainer and a bodybuilder, and
Yes.
so we go through a lot of chicken breast at my house, and I'm like, "Really?" We just bought 10 pounds 3 days ago, so
Oh, I
I
so
get it.
get that because my oldest also does do bodybuilding and weightlifting. So, and he's very specific. He wants a lot of protein
Mm,
and he wants vegetables and fruits. So, yeah, I totally can understand where you're coming from with that one. And he's 19, so he's my oldest. He's it's first year, just finished his first year in college. So,
that's awesome.
amazing for you. Yeah. Amazing for you to also like be able to get these cookbooks done and blogging with children. I mean, that's a huge challenge, right? I mean, it really
No,
just
it was.
is.
I am very lucky in that I do not require a lot of sleep. I have never required a lot of sleep, and so if I can work 20 hours a day for an extended period of time without there being a problem, and it's what did it. I would wait till the kids went to bed, and then I would just, I'd, um, divide the number of recipes that was required by the number of
Mm.
days I had to do it, and then, okay, I have to do 10 recipes a day. I have to do, I have to write down
Wow.
15 recipes a day or whatever, yeah.
That's a lot, but you're kinda like me, I don't require a lot of sleep either, but thinking of doing 10 recipes in a day blows up my brain. I don't do as much as you do, but I do like 1, like 'cause taking pictures too is quite a challenge. I mean, obviously, you had to learn photography as well, which I've had to do
Yeah,
also, and that's a feat in itself.
yes, it is. I didn't have to do photography for the cookbooks, so there was that.
Mm,
And it
that's
was
good.
also easy in that a lot of the recipes that they asked for were recipes that I had been making for years. And
Mm,
so I knew
sure.
they worked and so there was that made it a whole lot easier. It's not like I was triple testing recipes and things like that.
That's what I was gonna ask you, like, for your cookbooks, do you have a certain number of times you make it before you say, "Okay, this is it?" Or is it based on how it tastes? So, like, d is it always the same? Do you have a standard, or is it vary?
It varies. If I'm doing a recipe for something that I've been making for 40 years, I am not probably going to test it a whole lot before I
Right.
do it and put it on. But if it's a relatively new recipe, I usually try to test it at least 4 or 5 times just to make sure that it's pretty similar each time. The first
Mm.
time I have to figure out how to measure because I don't measure. If I'm just cooking for us, I don't use measuring things.
Yep.
So it makes it much more difficult when it comes to writing the recipe if I don't.
I understand that too, because my grandma was like that, and I learned some cooking from my mom and my grandma. My grandma was like that. She's like, "You just do this, you just do that," and it wasn't exact, it wasn't this exact thing. So it is something to learn and pay attention to. Okay, I need to tell people this is 1 cup and 1/3 cup. Like you have to be
Yeah, you
exact. It's a different
absolutely
way to
do.
cook.
It is totally
Mhm.
different. Plus, a lot of times I, adapt I have probably close to 100 old cookbooks from, like,
Oh,
1880 to about 1980, and so I
okay.
will take recipes out of those and adapt them, but the one thing people don't understand is even 50 years ago, flour was different, certain things.
Yes.
My fudge recipe that is on my blog is my mom's recipe, and when I read her recipe the first time when I was getting ready to put on the blog, it said, "Start with a 5-cent Hershey bar," and I was like, "Really?" 'Cause I'm not even sure you could get a little edge with that, right? So
Right.
so everything is different, and when you're adapting those old recipes, you have to be really, really careful.
That's really cool, and that's actually like me too. Like, I have all of my mom's old cookbooks. So, like, I have the cookbook book from my grandma's family, like, from their church in South Dakota. Like, I have my mom's 1960s barbecue. I mean, when you look at it, you can tell just by the pictures. I mean, this is from the 1960s, and
Yeah.
I love to do that too, and as well as taking my mom and grandma's recipes too. I don't have, like, a ton of them, but I like to have my mom's old recipe cards
Mhm.
with in her handwriting, and my grandma too. And they're just really it's really special to have, but you're right. You do sometimes have to modify those,
Yeah.
which you wouldn't expect, but you do.
You do, because even the texture of the flour is different than it used to be. So if
Mm.
you're doing a cake recipe and it says 2 cups of flour, you might need 2.5 cups, or you might need 1 3/4
Mm.
cups. It's crazy.
Right. And I think the region is different too. Like when I look at the cookbook from South Dakota, it's very different. There's so many. I mean, we have a lot of hot dishes in Minnesota too. Casseroles, people call them casseroles, but we call them hot dishes a lot. But they are different than if you're going to look at foods from where you are or the East
Right.
Coast or California. And it's kind
Yep,
of mind blowing to think how many different types of foods we have, culture foods or foods of cultures around the country.
that's true. And I was worried for a while in the '80s that they were gonna all start melding together because
Mm.
there were so many chain restaurants and they were all the same and everybody
Yep.
was doing the same kind of cooking and, but I think in the past 10 years, probably in the past 10 years, we've kind of gone the other way and people are more interested in their culture, their cultural cooking, and, their different things like that.
Oh, absolutely. And so have you always been in Texas? And so you kind of cook with that type of Texan flavor, or have you been other places and has it
I've,
impacted your cooking?
I've been other places. My ex-husband was in the military and we traveled quite a lot.
Oh,
But I have been in Texas, let's see, I'm 63. And so I've been in Texas if you put it all together, at least 55 of those 63 years. So
okay.
I think
Yes. You're very influenced.
it's my influence. My mom was from Michigan. And so I do have
Oh,
a little bit of that influence in the more Midwestern kind of stuff and some of the things. But for the most part, it's pretty Texan.
yeah. Oh, that's really cool. And I love your title of your I keep calling you a podcast, but your website. How did you come up with that name?
It just happened. I was like, back when, again, way back then, we nobody was really worrying about having a keyword in the name. Okay,
Sure.
there was no such thing as keywords.
Yeah.
So you just wanted something that was memorable. I was like, okay, what's memorable? What's memorable? And I was like, I looked over and I had some Chipotles on the counter that I was working with. I said, Chipotle, Chipotle. And my one of my kids came in and said, Mom, why are you so restless right now? Because
Mm,
I do have ADD, but I
mhm.
around and I was thinking, I was like, what else? What else? And so that's how it happened.
That's a fun story. And I totally get it. Sometimes that's just how things happen. They just poof,
Yeah.
and it's just the right timing. And that's very cool. And so, what are your favorite things to cook with? And do you like to cook more entrees or desserts, breakfasts, casseroles? What are your favorites?
I am absolutely a bread person. I learned how to make bread when I was
Mm,
14, and
mhm.
so I've been making bread a very long time. I love making bread. But not that many people want bread recipes. So you have to make what people want to come see. And so
Right.
for myself, I love making bread. I love making desserts. The baking aspect of it is my favorite, but I just like all of it. I just like to cook. I like to make things taste really good.
Hmm. I like to really, I don't know about you, but I like to try unusual things together too. Like things that you wouldn't normally have together. I think that's really fun to experiment with.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so, do you think people don't like bread because they're trying to stay away from carbs, or why do you think people
No,
don't
I
like
think
bread
people don't
recipes?
have time to make bread.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
I
just,
get what you're saying.
for I've got some batter bread recipes that are very quick. But for the most
Mm,
part, when somebody comes home from work at night, they are not wanting to
yeah,
eat a loaf of bread. And
mm,
if they have Sunday afternoon off, most of the time, unless they really love to cook, they're not wanting to spend it making a loaf of bread. So
yeah,
I have it on the blog for people who want it, but I don't do hundreds of breads. That's not what it's about because there's just not that many people that want those recipes.
right. And the other thing I think too is that there's so many amazing bakeries out there that make it, so it's just so easy to just pick it up and be like, I mean,
You have
such
to,
good.
yeah, you have to enjoy the process of it. And
Mm,
there's some people that do, and there's some people that don't.
right, exactly. Exactly. So, did you find it a challenge talking about feeding children, have them all having different tastes and different things they liked, or do they just have to eat what you put out? How did you go about with your parenting and feeding kids?
Um, I'm pretty laid back sort of parent, I guess. But
Mm, mhm,
the deal was you could eat what was on the table. You had to take
mhm.
one bite. If you didn't
Yep.
like it, I wasn't going to push it. Nobody had to clean their plate. And if there was absolutely nothing on the table you liked, you could make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what I did too. I never wanted to force my kids to eat their whole plate because I didn't want them to overeat and get used to
Right.
overeating and then lead to obesity and all of that. And I know so many parents do that. And then I get not wanting to waste food, but you don't want to make them feel like they have to eat when they're full.
Yeah. And really, with kids, you've got to pick your battles. And I think
Yes.
that was really one of them.
I totally get that. What's one recipe your kids absolutely have loved though that they remember from childhood and they're like, oh, they want to make it over and over again?
This is really funny because it's absolutely not on the blog, but
I was going to ask you, and is it on the blog?
American goulash, my mom used to make it.
Oh, yeah, my
And
mom did too.
so there's that I have to make on a regular basis for my kids.
Mm,
Um, and my mom's potato soup recipe, which is on the blog.
okay.
And my mom's chili, which isn't Texas chili, it's more
Mm,
of a Midwestern chili soup, I think that it is called. It's
sure.
like with stewed tomatoes, very fresh tomato flavor, and um, kidney beans and hamburger and green peppers and onions and macaroni.
Oh,
So
and macaroni.
and
Okay.
macaroni. And so if you tried to serve that to a real Texas person, they would slap your hand. But We are addicted to it because my mom made it, and when your mom or your grandma makes something on a regular basis, so
Yes.
we have a tradition that the first cold day of the year, I
Mm.
always like that, and that's what we have for dinner. Because that's what my mom used to do when it was really cold. The first cold day of the year, she would call and she would say, "I made chili. Do you guys want to come over?" And we'd be like, "We'll be there in 10 minutes." And,
Isn't that so true? There's so much memories in foods, in
there is.
dishes. I mean, it's just amazing. Even I see that in my kids too. And sometimes it's just really fun to see them react to that and be like, are you going to make this again? Are you going
Mhm.
to make that again? And like, it's just really fun to see that we all care about food, but there's so many memories in it too.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. And I think it's funny, but when you lose someone like your mom or your dad,
Yeah.
you can never fix the food the same way. It never tastes the same no
Right.
matter what you do. It just doesn't. So I told my
Mhm.
kids to enjoy while they could because the flavors were going to change when they started making them.
I know it's so true. Like I think of my grandma and she was one of these people that lived through the Great Depression. So she was very, very frugal. But even being, someone who always didn't have a lot of ingredients, she made everything taste amazing. Like she probably is the best food I've ever eaten in my life. Like she made the best food I've ever eaten in my life. Like you just can't duplicate it. And I don't know, she just had this talent. She started cooking in 8th grade because they lived in South Dakota and the parents were out in the field. So she kind of became the mom and she was the cook. And so she started cooking in 8th grade, so she learned through being thrown into the fire of making food for a full family. There were 5 siblings. So
Right.
yeah. But yeah, no, you can't duplicate it.
Nope, there's no duplicating it.
It's so interesting. It's almost like there's magic in the food, like you have the same recipe, but what is it that's different?
Yep. Who
Mhm.
knows?
There's something anyway,
It's
but
something.
it's just amazing. So, what has been your most surprising thing in your journey to where you are today with all of this? The blog and your YouTube channel and your cookbooks and your success?
Um, I was in a very difficult relationship
Mm,
prior to my divorce, and
sure.
I came out of that, I didn't have a job outside the house. We homeschooled and, it
Mhm.
it was it was a very classic atomic kind of family, the
Mm,
husband and the wife and all of everybody had their roles.
yep.
And when he left because he had found someone else,
Okay.
um, I had 6 kids at home and
Mm.
I hadn't worked since 1981,
Oh, wow.
and it was, uh, 2009, and that's a
Mm.
big space of time,
That is.
and I came out of that feeling like I was trash, you know?
Yeah, right.
I didn't have anything to offer anyone. I didn't have any abilities. I had this little hobby blog that I was doing, but that was nothing, that was
Right,
nothing.
right.
So when I look and like my ex-husband didn't make a lot of money. To be honest, we dumpster dive sometimes to
Sure.
put food on the table. Me and the
Mhm,
kids did. And
mhm.
which sounds terrible, but you do what you have to do.
You have to survive, yeah.
You have to survive. So when I look back at those times, and then I
Mhm.
look now, for example, in January, my current husband and I flew down to Buenos Aires and got on a ship
Mm.
and we went to Antarctica and Falkland Islands
Wow.
and we did all of these things. W- and I coach other bloggers.
Oh, nice.
And stuff like that. And so some people actually look up to me, and the idea of
Oh, yes.
people looking up to me it's hard for me to wrap my brain around. It's hard for
Mhm.
me to go to the grocery store and buy whatever I want without having to worry about what the price is. So I guess that's the
Right.
biggest change is just how much I've grown from it. I've
Yeah.
spoken at conferences, which is something the me 20 years ago would never have done,
Right.
never. And
Right.
I've spoken at conferences, I've been a coach, I've been in book signings, I've traveled all over the world, all of these things that me would never have imagined me being able to do.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And that is so moving to listen to. What an amazing journey you've been on. And to go from that to this is just
It
wow.
is it's a huge blessing. I am so grateful. So
That is
grateful.
awesome. That is so awesome. I love to hear that kind of story, to hear where you came from a place not only that was financially hard, but just having the confidence to be like, okay, now I need to do something and I haven't done anything like this in years and I have all these children that I have to. I mean, that's daunting.
It was scary. My ex-husband didn't pay child support. So,
Oh,
yeah, so
jeez.
it was really scary. When you're those first couple of weeks,
Mm,
it was like, "Okay, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do this?" The kids had always been homeschooled, so I don't wanna put them in school because I felt like that would be
yeah.
too much of a change for them. They were already going through so much change. And
Yep.
then I just kept trying to find writing jobs online, and I would,
Mm.
at one point, I was writing 80 articles a month for other
Oh, wow.
websites, and,
That's amazing.
then working on my blog when I was done in the evenings.
Wow.
So, I've had a couple of people say, "It's so easy for you," "That you hit success so easily," and I'm like, "Well, most of the time, if somebody is really successful, they've been working at it really, really hard."
Right. And you obviously learned how to work very quickly and efficiently and write really well, really fast. So you learned skills. It wasn't just like you got lucky. You worked at it.
Yeah, actually, having to write for all of those different websites was such a huge blessing, not at the time because I really hated
Mhm.
it and I was tired,
Right.
but because I wrote for all of those different people and the way that they wanted things to write. That was before SEO, or it was right when SEO was getting started. And so
Okay.
I learned a lot from writing for different companies. I learned what worked. Learned what didn't work. I learned what my voice was, all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard other people who've done writing for other people and or other companies or whatever, and they think that you almost find your voice a little bit better because you're learning to write in a different way, and then it
Right.
helps you realize that you when you do it for yourself, it's different,
Yeah. Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. That's fascinating. What a journey you've been on and what a great amount of content. Like, do you ever look back at it and be like, wow, I did all that?
Yeah, I do, especially when I'm having to, like, do updates and work on it. I'm like, "Oh, no."
When you do so many things and you have to like send out an email and like, yeah, there's so many things to add. And you're like, wow, I really did a lot.
I
Yeah.
really did a lot, yeah. There's, close to 1,000, recipes on my blog, and
Wow.
honestly, I have deleted probably 5 or 600 over the years.
Oh, wow. And now why do you delete them?
Um, some of them were, as I said, just so ridiculous, like, there's not a lot of people that want fresh goat milk ice cream or
Oh,
how to
okay.
make
Gotcha.
ricotta cheese. It was more of a homesteading, like, thing, and a lot of those,
Mm,
that's just not the direction I went,
right.
that
So it's, yeah. So it's kind of more like you were changing the focus of your entire blog.
yeah,
So those just didn't like
and
fit in anymore.
a lot of the stuff was just, again, it was just different from, that was, gosh, it's over 10 years ago, and our eating habits and what we like and how we eat has changed so much in 10 years anyway. I just
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things are fun to see on the blog,
Mm-hmm.
and from a long time ago. I've still got a few things from like 2006 and 2007,
Mm,
but some of it was just not appropriate for who I am now and how I cook now and my demographic.
right. Right. That makes sense. You figure out your audience, who your audience is, and that doesn't really fit anymore. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. Now, do you have other people helping you create things at this point, or do you do more, still do the bulk of it yourself?
I do a lot of it myself. I do have people help,
Mhm.
especially as, this year, my husband and I traveled more. my
Mhm.
oldest daughter moved in with us because she has brain cancer. And so there's
Oh, yeah.
taking her, we have to take her to chemo. And so there was really no way that I could put in the kind of hours that I used to put in, but I still do a lot of it.
That's good. Oh, I'm so
And
sorry you're going through that.
yeah, well, life, right?
It's
Life.
life. It is
You
life,
can
unfortunately. Yeah.
you can either be negative about it or you can be positive about it.
Right. At least you're able to take her in and she has a place to go where you can
Right.
help her out, like not everybody has that even. So,
Right. Yeah. And
yeah.
there's been blessing in it too, even though that sounds weird. But
Yeah.
I like to look at the positive sides of things. I've rarely been through anything that I can look back on and say, oh, that was terrible, because there's always been something that came out of it that was good. So,
I
and
love that.
she's doing great. So there's that.
That's good. That's awesome. But you're right. I don't think that even if it's something small, you're still going to learn something. Right. I
Mhm.
think you're right.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So tell me about, I was perusing your website a little bit and it was kind of fun for me to look at your section where it said, tell me about your amazing ingredient substitution ideas. And like, this has happened to me before where I'm like, oh, the buttermilk went bad, or, oh, I don't have as much sugar as I thought. How did you figure out these things for substitutions? Did you read up or did you just try it out?
Most of them came out of the really old cookbooks because those people had a
Oh,
lot of smarts, right? For
yes.
example, one of my cookbooks from, 1850, 1860, there was a little note in it, put a pinch of ginger in the yeast water when you're making bread. And
Hmm.
so I did that, and pretty much now everybody is doing that because it's such a great activator, but
Mhm.
I think it started with me because it was 2009.
Right.
But yeah, so I never really would have thought about that, but some of those old things that they used to do really make sense. So, a pinch of ginger in with yeast and sugar and water really helps activate it really, really well. So I learned those things from the cookbooks like that, and like the Depression era and World War II era cookbooks,
Yeah.
where they had to cook with rations, they had ration cards and all of that. um they had a lot of ways of doing things, and some of those recipes we still use today, like I think there's one called a crazy cake or something like that. It's like
Mm.
water and oil and nothing, I don't know. But, I couldn't think what all was in it, but anyway, so as generations have gone through things, they've learned how to get around their problems, right? What they don't have. And, so I learned about the ginger thing. I learned, about how you can take baking soda and, I lost it in my head. The cream of tartar, and you
Oh,
can put
yes.
that together and make baking powder basically. And
Mm.
so, once you start understanding, and then you start looking at it, you go, wait, this is chemistry. And
Right.
right? So, I use a lot of those old things. And so when I wrote, actually, that just published today.
Oh, it did? Are you serious? Maybe
Yeah,
that's why it was maybe as I saw it because it was right there,
it was right on the front, yeah, but so, and I haven't written down all of them, but I think I've got like 50 on there, but,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so, like, you can use molasses, you can mix a tablespoon of molasses in with, like, a cup of brown sugar and have light, or a cup of white sugar and have a light brown sugar, um,
Wow.
same flavor. You can add, a tablespoon of cornstarch, might be a teaspoon, um, anyway, of cornstarch to sugar and blend it up in your blender, you're gonna have powdered sugar. I mean, that
Wow.
has come in handy numerous times.
Oh, yeah, I could bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can use sour cream for buttermilk, you can use Greek yogurt for buttermilk,
Mm,
and I really like to culture my own buttermilk. So
mm.
because I can get it as rich and as thick as I want. A lot of times the buttermilk from the store is skim, and I don't like
Oh.
skim milk. So,
Mhm.
I'll get whole milk and put a little bit of the store-bought buttermilk in there, but you can also get cultures on Amazon, and then you
Mhm.
just let it sit, and it creates a whole thing of buttermilk,
Huh.
the way you want it. Yeah, so
I mean, and when you talk about that, think about how it was back then that they couldn't just go to the store. And now we have all these amazing delivery things because of COVID. All these people are delivering grocery stores. All we need to do is call or order online and poof, it
oh, yeah,
appears at our door.
yeah.
And they did not have anything remotely like that. Like they had
No,
to
no.
travel. They had to travel to
It's
get
crazy.
stuff.
I love the delivery thing. I mean, I went to the gym with
Mhm.
my son this morning. We left here at about 20 after 5 and went
Mhm.
down to the gym, and when we got home, all of my groceries were sitting on my front porch
Yes.
ready to come in. It was like, "Huh."
Such a time saver. But yeah, think about how different that is. So but those things come in handy too because we do run out of things even though it's still convenient to get things. Sometimes you'll be making something and something went bad and you're like, "Oh, you still want to make it." So those substitutions really come in healthy healthy. Come in very helping. One thing that made me think of, and I don't know if this is probably a common one too, but putting a piece of bread in brown sugar when it's hard. That's what something I learned from my mom and my grandma when I was younger. That's not really a substitution, but that's like a fix. And I was telling my son that when we were making some cookies, and he said, "Oh, it's all hard." I said, "Well, let's just put a piece of bread in there and then we'll be able to use it." And he's like, "What?"
Mhm.
It was
Yeah,
fun to teach him that.
that's the kinda information that used to get passed down. It's not passed down anymore.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yes. I mean, and it is weird. I don't even know why that works. But yeah, you're right. It's chemistry and it's biology and it's all those things
all the
that
things. Yep, a lot of our science classes happened in the kitchen when we were homeschooling. A
Oh,
lot of
I
them.
bet.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of them.
The kids love to play in the kitchen. They really
Yeah,
do, just to
they
make
do.
things and just
And
play with stuff.
usually if they're involved with it, they're better about eating different things too.
Yes, that's so true. If they had a hand in making it, like, oh, maybe I'll try this.
Yeah, okay.
I'll try one bite. My youngest one still has issues. Like he doesn't love beans. So like when we have chili, it has beans in it. Like he doesn't love the beans, but he's getting better. He
Yeah,
eats most things, but it's so funny how they go through different phases in life and how we were talking earlier, how it impacts your cooking. Yeah, having the number of kids home, it's constantly changing how we cook.
it is. It is. And I was a super picky eater when I was little.
Mm.
I would only eat spaghetti with butter and Parmesan on it, and
Oh yeah.
I would eat salad and Brussels sprouts, oddly enough,
Oh
and
wow.
and bananas, and that was pretty much it.
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds pretty familiar. A lot of kids go through that where they're just this little grouping of foods they're willing to eat
Yeah,
and
tiny bit.
hopefully they will outgrow that. I think most people do outgrow
I
that
think
and start
so.
to eat more things.
I
So we
think
shouldn't
so.
really parents tend to freak out about that kind of stuff though. And we really
Yeah.
shouldn't because
I think, my pediatrician, when my mom asked him, said, "Don't worry about it. She'll eat when she's
Mhm.
hungry." Excuse me.
That's good. That's good advice. That's what everybody needs, I think, because some people get so hyper about it. Like, you have to eat this much broccoli and this much blah, blah. My kids wouldn't touch broccoli. They still don't love it, but I never forced them to eat broccoli. They tried it, but I never was one of those parents who are like, you have to eat the broccoli, like it just wasn't me.
It's not worth it.
It isn't at all. So, were any of your kids vegetarian or have they all been meat eaters?
Actually, I am pretty much vegetarian,
Oh, you are
and
too. Okay.
so several of the kids are, and then so we kind of have it split down the middle. We have the vegetarian leaning side over here, and we have
Uh huh.
the not vegetarian leaning side over here. So yeah, we're pretty well split up.
So you
We
kind
were
of have to do what
actually
I do.
when the kids were really small, I think I only had 2 or 3. We were actually vegan for about 3 or
Mm,
4 years, so
okay. It'd be tough to be vegan, I think. I mean, I think I could do it being a vegetarian, but I like to have the dairy in there. It just I like
Yeah,
cheese.
yes, that's what brought me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have the whole challenge of making a meal and making everybody happy too, which is what I constantly have dealt with myself.
Yeah, I don't try to make everybody happy. I make whatever I'm putting on the blog and they can eat it or not. I mean, they're all adults.
Right.
They can go to, Burger King or Whataburger or whatever.
Exactly. So true. And it's not as hard as people think though, if you're trying to make things for feeding two different types of diets. People are always like, think it's such a big deal. Oh, what are you gonna eat? What are you gonna make? That sounds really hard. It's really not. You just have to be very mindful how you do it.
Yes. My mom lived with us for the last year or so of her life, and
Mm,
she was on a very strict diet for her
mm,
heart, which
mhm,
was actually pretty silly, but that's a whole nother story. And then I was pregnant and I was on a very careful diet because I tend to have high blood sugar when I was pregnant
mm.
and
Yep.
that's kind of stuff. And then there was the family. So I
Mm.
it can be done. You can cook 3 or 4 different ways. It's not that hard.
Right. I mean, if you take things out before you put meat in other portions, you just have to split things up at the right time. Just be really mindful. That's kind of how I always think of it. Just have to
Yeah.
be really mindful what you're doing and kind of plan it ahead. Pay attention where you put meat, where you don't put meat. Because I had a few recipes that I've put out, and some people that were vegetarians totally balked at me saying, "Well, how can you put meat in the same dish when you're eating it meatless?" I said, "You just put it on one side." And they're like, "No, no, you can't do that." Like they thought it was all like taboo. And I'm like, I've done it many times and it doesn't drift. If you do it right and you have the right recipe, the meat's not going to drift over there.
Yeah, that's true.
But, some people are purists and they're like, nope, nope, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. That's not even right. To each their own. So, well, what have you run into? Have you run into people that were, cutting you down? Do you get people that are naysayers? And what do you say to them or just ignore them? How do you deal with people who are negative towards you or do you not experience that?
Negative towards me about
Like saying things like maybe bad reviews or saying they don't
eh,
like your recipes, those kind of people.
those people.
Yeah.
Ah, so yes, I do get those. Most of the time, I try to be nice,
Mhm.
because I do think of myself as being a very nice person. Sometimes
Mhm.
it really hurts. I mean, I have more than once cried over something that somebody wrote on the
Yeah.
blog.
Mhm.
But the funniest one was somebody I have, copycat Cracker Barrel, hamburger steaks, right, with onion
Okay.
gravy.
Mhm.
Really popular recipe on the blog. And one person came on and said that they gave the recipe a 1-star rating, and she said, "I
Mm.
hate this recipe because I went to Cracker Barrel 2 weeks ago and I got food poisoning from this very dish." And I was like,
Oh, geez.
"I don't really think food poisoning is one of the ingredients, but,
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Some people are
but
weird.
they are weird, but that just made me laugh because it was just so over the top and funny, and I go ahead and publish those. I mean, I don't care. People can think what they
Right.
think, but you're always gonna have people that like, I have a couple of recipes. Some people have really good luck with it. It's amazing. They love it. They just go
Mhm.
crazy over it. They leave beautiful reviews. And then
Yep.
there'll be a whole nother batch of people on that same recipe that'll be like, this recipe didn't work. It didn't set up. It didn't do this. And I'm like, how I don't understand how that happens, but it does.
Right. It does, and it's out of your control. It could be bad ingredients, but then often people will, yeah, they'll blame the recipe and be like, "Oh no, it's the recipe." There's like so many other reasons why that could have happened.
Yep.
But
Yeah, we went
I had
through
a,
that Thanksgiving with
oh
I
man,
had a pecan pie recipe go viral, and, I
mm,
got a lot of comments. "This pie didn't set up, it's goopy all over it's, like, running all over the
mm.
place, it's running right out of the crust," and I said, Did you refrigerate it overnight like it says to in the recipe?" "No, I was in a hurry."
Oh geez,
"What are you gonna
but
do?"
that's it's so annoying though when people would leave a negative review for that, and it's something that they just didn't even follow directions for. So it like reflects negatively on you when there's no reason it should. They did it. It's their fault.
I don't think it reflects negatively on me.
Yeah.
I don't think most people really look at those reviews. I mean, maybe they
Mhm.
do, but I think most people are responsible enough to read the reviews and see, well, okay,
Yeah.
80% of
Yeah.
the reviews are really good, and there's just this 20% over here that's really bad. And I'm guessing that the 80%, I mean, if you have like 100% bad reviews or something,
All
that's
right.
another thing.
That's true. That's true. And so you do have to, and we all know that because we know people that are super picky or ridiculous. So we kind of have to expect that. And as a person who's creating content, you have to accept that you're going to get those people that are going to come at you. If you're putting something out in the world,
Yeah.
you're going to get those people. Like my worst one was somebody gave me a 1 star because they said they didn't order my book. And I'm like, what? Why would you give me a 1 star and leave a review that you didn't order my book? I'm like, I don't even
What does
understand that.
that even mean? Yeah.
I know. I'm
You're
like,
not going to be
okay.
everybody's cup of coffee, Some people are just not going to be your people.
That's right. That's right. But you do need to have a thick skin. Do you when you find you said you coach people, do you bring that kind of stuff up with people when you're
Yeah.
coaching?
Most of the
Mhm.
time with the people I'm coaching, we're working on growing their blogs.
Okay.
But we do talk about that a lot. And, it's your blog. It's like your house. So if somebody comes into your house and they're super rude, if
Right.
you want to toss them out on their backside, you have every right to toss them out on their backside. Just because
Right.
somebody leaves a comment on your blog doesn't mean that you have to publish it.
Right. That's so true. And don't take it to heart.
Just, or have like one of your kids or your husband or your best friend, give them um, give them access to your blog and just give them the job of going through the comments and answering them and deleting all of the nasty stuff. That way you never have to see it.
That's true. That's definitely a good way to do it. To just get it out of there so you don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's That's not going to help you. You just need to if you can't shed it and just let it bounce off of you, that's a great way to deal with it.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself going in the future? Do you have things in the works or plans or what's your future
I
plan?
am working on my YouTube channel, and trying to
Nice.
get that going. I really enjoy doing YouTube.
Mm,
This year I haven't gotten as much done as I usually do, just because again, the travel and my daughter being sick and stuff, but I'm going to get back into
sure,
that
sure.
hopefully soon. But I love doing that. And I never thought I would love being on camera like that. But
Right.
it was just fun. And I like getting the emails and stuff. And people like me. And that's always a shock to me. It's like, oh, wow, you liked me. Um,
Aw.
so, so there's that. Really, I don't think anything's going to change a whole lot. I mean, my blog
Mhm,
is quite large and I'd like to continue to grow it. I've
mhm,
considered, I did start a bread blog for a while, but I can't keep up
mm.
with it. So I'm going to pull all of the recipes over to my regular blog and shut that one down.
Oh, sure.
It's just too much. But so maybe at some point I'll start another blog, but I don't think so. I'm thinking about writing fiction next. So
Oh,
there's that.
nice.
So there's that. So we'll
What would
see.
you write? What kind of genre would you write?
Um, I would I would write probably fantasy fiction.
Oh, nice. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Now, would you do it in the future or set in the past or current times? Have you thought that far ahead?
Probably different. Well, probably current times, and just to have
Okay.
something strange about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's very cool. I hope you
But
do. That's another adventure for you.
yeah, I always wanted to write a book, so that would be fun.
That's very cool. Now, when you coach people, do you do it as an organized thing or you just kind of do it for people here and there? Or do you have because some people have organized courses or classes where they coach
Um,
people?
I used to have courses, and they were
Mm,
in SEO, but SEO changes so much and so fast. I found that taking
yeah.
an SEO course is not the best way to learn it.
Right.
So I was coaching people by myself, and then one of my first coaching clients, who has become my accountability partner and very dear friend, is now co-coaching with me. So we're
Mm,
both coaching. We take a very limited number of people. Uh,
Sure.
and then, yeah, and it's just basically helping them figure out where their weaknesses are in their blog and where their strengths are,
Mm,
how to play off their strengths and kind of, yeah.
very cool. No, I didn't examine every spot of your blog, your website. Do you have strictly all food, or do you go into any other areas of family life, or is it basically all recipes and food?
It's mostly recipes and food. There's a few posts on there about the travel that we've done,
Oh, okay.
just pictures
Hmm.
and stuff, but it's like, it's very casual. It's not like a travel blog or even
Oh, okay.
travel blog post. It's just like, this is where we went. And, just like you would show your friends pictures. Cause,
Yeah.
my readers on my blog, I'm very close to a lot of them. And,
Mhm.
so they're very special and I want to share things with them.
Right. And it's giving you more information or giving them more information about you and kind of just like bonding and
Yeah.
yeah, just sharing and showing more of who you are. Yeah, that's really cool. Very cool. That's awesome. So, what's your recipe you're working on right now? Do you have a specific one?
Right now I'm doing a lot of updates and
Mm,
reshooting old stuff. So,
okay, sure.
um, in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna move towards Thanksgiving stuff, and,
Mm, mhm,
I'm looking to find the holes that I've left. Like,
mm.
if you have a Southern food blog, there's certain things you should have on your blog. You should have collard greens,
Sure.
you should have grits, you should have,
Yep, yep.
so, I'm trying to fill those holes. So one of the next things that's going to go on there is I want a 30-minute version of chicken and waffles. So that's what
Okay,
I'm working
nice.
on right now.
It was so funny that that reminds me of something my son recently we were ordering food and there was chicken and waffles and my entire family had never heard of chicken and waffles besides me and I'm like how have you guys not heard of this? I guess it's cuz we're from the north, but I'm like maybe I've heard of it cuz I've, been a food
Yeah,
blogger or I blog about food. I'm like that's a thing. And they're like that's a thing and I'm like
the
you bet
thing.
it is.
Yep.
It's kind of funny that they didn't know. So I have to ask being a food blogger, do you do Pinterest?
I do Pinterest. I have always
Yeah,
really loved Pinterest, and
me too.
Pinterest has always been really good to me. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I do it as much as I did 5 years ago when Pinterest was
Okay.
at its height. But,
Right.
but I still do it on a regular basis.
So your main one you're kind of focusing on these days is more YouTube,
Um,
or do you have other platforms you use frequently?
Usually Pinterest and Facebook is,
Oh, okay.
that's where I spend a lot of time when I'm not on my blog. YouTube, definitely spend a lot of time there, but like I said, this year it's probably not in the upper levels of where I'm at because of
Mhm.
so much going on. But I like to think of blogging as kind of a table with 4 legs or 3 legs either way. Like a three-legged milking stool. I prefer a four-legged table. So
Mhm.
I like to have the Google traffic. I like to have Pinterest traffic. I like to have Facebook traffic. And then I like to have some kind of um book or digital product or something, YouTube, something that's going to, balance that out. Because you
Yeah.
can, over the past year, I lost 70, 68 or 70% of my Facebook traffic,
Oh,
which was really
ouch.
significant and really down. But most of my traffic, it was pretty evenly spaced between Google's my number one, and then Pinterest is my number two or three,
Mhm.
depending on where Facebook is, and then Facebook comes in here like this. So
Okay.
when you lose 68% of one of those,
Yeah.
that's a significant amount. I mean, it is a significant amount. It hits you financially, but you're
Yes.
just losing the one and you still have the rest of them, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes, yes, yes.
that's why that's my always my advice to anybody if they are doing anything, whether it's blogging or any kind of entrepreneur where they're responsible for their own income, they're not
Mm.
working for somebody else. then they need to make sure that they have several different streams of income coming from several different places so that if one gets kicked out from under you, you're
Right.
not gonna suffer for it. It'll be like, "Oh, dang, I can't get that new couch I wanted to get. Shoot."
Right.
But it's not gonna keep you from being able to feed your kids or anything like that.
Absolutely. And that's just the thing too. We don't own these platforms. They can change their algorithms. For me, my biggest ones are Pinterest and Google as well. But my Facebook has been horrible for me. But I kind of quit working on it because it became horrible. And I'm like, I just kept backing away because I'm like, I'm doing effort here and there's nothing coming back. So why am I
Yeah,
bothering?
right. I usually suggest to people that they put the most time in where their money is coming from, um,
Hmm.
and, kind of break it up that way, but I put a lot of time into Facebook only because I did really well on it before, and because
Hmm.
I love a challenge and I wanna figure out what happened and how I can fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get it. So do you dream about recipes? Do you wake up in the morning, you're like, "Oh, I wanna try this," or how do you get your new inspirations?
Usually from the old cookbooks, I read those old cookbooks a lot and I'll see something, uh, well, there was one I did, I don't think it's up on the blog yet, but it's called Dixie Chicken, and I was like,
Mm.
well, so I wanted to see if it was anywhere else on the internet, and so I looked all over the
Mhm.
place, and there is a recipe called that, but it's not the recipe that I've got, and this
Okay.
was from, like, a 1940s cookbook, and I was like,
Mm.
"That's interesting." So I've made that, and I adapted it from what it was and made it a slow cooker recipe. It should be out in the next, well, I'll probably do it in August because it's more of a back to school recipe.
Mm. Uh-huh.
But it's really creamy comfort food and it's really easy and so I get a lot of that where, you know, the older recipes. One of the recipes I did from one of the old cookbooks, and this was a 1930s cookbook, was chicken pot pie with mashed sweet potatoes on top instead of,
Oh,
and that was it's really good and it's really different. Um,
yeah.
so that's usually where I get inspiration from.
I like that. I like that you dive into those old cookbooks and, I've done some of that myself too. It's really fun. Like you said, you see different types of recipes, different types of food combinations that are just different because they're from so long ago.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes food blogs, especially when you get in the higher traffic ones, that
Mhm.
sometimes it feels like everybody does the same thing. And to a certain
Yeah,
extent, to a certain extent, you have to do that because those are the recipes that people are looking for, and that's how you're
sure.
going to make a living. And that's what we all want to do is make a living.
Yep.
It's kind of like I'm trying to think of store J.C. Penney and Sears,
Oh,
Macy's and Bloomingdale's, all of them kind of have the same thing. They
yep.
present it in different ways. So
Right.
that's how I see it. But it's still nice to go into a boutique store once in a
Mm,
while and get something that's nobody else has.
yes.
So as long as there's balance, it's not a problem.
Right. That makes a lot of sense to me. Well, this has been so amazing. Is there anything that we haven't talked about or that you'd like to mention before we end our chat?
I don't think so. It's been really fun though.
It was. I really enjoyed getting to know you. This was really fun.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it. And I'll put all of your links down in the podcast show notes so people can find where you are. And so thank you so much. You have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.